Don't move. Yeah, you. Stay right there. You feel that pressure crawling behind your ribs? That's not fear. It's recognition, the kind that hits when you finally realize what's happening. They loved you when you were quiet, but now they're choking on your boundaries. When you were soft-spoken, compliant, predictable, they called you kind. When you bit your tongue and swallowed the disrespect, they called you mature. When you dimmed your light to keep their shadows comfortable, they called you humble. But the second you said no, the second you stopped performing, the second you started acting like your own person, they called you selfish, cold, changed. Isn't it funny how love only lasted as long as you stayed on mute? You were never their friend. You were their reflection, the one who made their smallness feel big. Their calm depended on your silence. Their power existed because you kept handing it to them, wrapped in apology. But the moment you drew a line, the illusion shattered, and they saw what they were really dealing with, a creature they could never control. Now they call you difficult, unreasonable, heartless. Translation: you stopped bleeding for free. You've become the version of yourself they always feared, the one that doesn't fold, doesn't explain, doesn't shrink. And now, they're gasping for air in the atmosphere you were always meant to breathe in, because your boundaries suffocate those who only learned how to survive off your permission. You see, quiet people are dangerous. The world mistakes silence for submission, but silence is observation, it's data collection, it's target acquisition. And while they thought you were weak, you were memorizing everything, their tells, their tactics, their tone. When they thought you weren't listening, you were building the armor they'd eventually stab themselves on. You used to let them talk over you. Now your silence costs them peace. You used to say, "It's fine." Now you say, "That's enough." You used to break yourself to keep the connection. Now you'd rather watch it die than lose yourself again. That's not ego. That's healing. And the ones who loved you for your compliance, they'll never forgive you for outgrowing their control. They were addicted to your softness. You were their emotional doormat, their spiritual sponge. You absorbed their guilt so they could feel pure. You carried their chaos so they could stay calm. You existed to make them comfortable in their mediocrity. But the moment you stopped playing the victim in their story, they had to meet the real protagonist, you. And they weren't ready for that, because you stopped needing permission to be powerful. You stopped apologizing for existing. You became fluent in the language of no. And that language, it terrifies parasites. Now look at them, scrambling to rewrite the narrative. She's changed. He's different now. No, you just finally enforced the rules of engagement. You built walls and found peace inside them, and now they call you heartless, because they can't climb in anymore. They can't manipulate what they can't reach. They can't drain what doesn't leak. They can't control what doesn't respond. You used to whisper your pain. They applauded your restraint. Now you speak your truth. They call it aggression. You used to overextend. They called you selfless. Now you withdraw. They call you cold. The irony? You didn't change. You just stopped volunteering for crucifixion. That's what people mean when they say you've grown. Growth looks a lot like rebellion to those who benefited from your obedience. They loved your silence because it made them feel safe. They loved your boundaries absent because it made you accessible. They loved your light dimmed because it kept them from seeing their own reflection. But here's the secret. They still want you. They just want you back small. They crave the older version of you, The one who apologized for things that weren't your fault, who bent until breaking, who smiled while dying. They want access, not connection, control, not intimacy. They want the tool, not the person. And when you stop being useful, they label you evil. You became the villain in a story you used to save. But listen carefully, that's where your freedom begins. Because when people start painting you as the problem, it's usually the first sign that you've stopped being their solution. You were never meant to stay in their comfort zone. You were meant to outgrow it. So let them choke. Let them call you selfish, arrogant, detached. That's what drowning sounds like to someone who's been breathing your air for too long. You owe no explanation for learning to breathe without them. The truth is, your boundaries were never the problem. They were the mirror. And what they saw there scared them, because it showed how much they took, how little they gave, and how fragile their power really was without your silence. That's what evolution feels like. It's not pretty. It's loud, it's lonely, it's misunderstood. You lose people, you gain peace, you lose approval, you gain self-respect. And you'll realize the ones who can't handle your boundaries were never meant to handle your potential. You were born to be polarizing. Saints and psychopaths share the same silence. It's only the world's interpretation that changes. You can be kind and still say no. You can be loving and still walk away. You can be light and still know darkness intimately enough to navigate it blindfolded. That's the duality they never understood. You were never broken. You were becoming. Every wound taught you precision. Every betrayal taught you clarity. Every silence built a weapon. And now, you're fluent in restraint, the most terrifying power of all. They used to love you when you were quiet because it made them feel safe. Now your quiet feels like judgment. Now your boundaries feel like violence. Now your peace feels like punishment. Let them feel it. Let them suffocate on the oxygen you once gave too freely. Because the truth is, boundaries don't hurt people who were never there to exploit you. You didn't change. You just finally stopped dying politely. And that, my dear, is how angels learn to scare demons. By refusing to apologize for their wings. And now, they tremble when you enter the room. Isn't it poetic? The same voices that once told you to calm down, be nice, don't overreact, can't even breathe in the same space as your calm anymore. Because it's not silence now, it's sovereignty. It's not politeness, it's presence. And it's heavier than anything they've ever had to face. See, when you were quiet, they mistook that for emptiness. They thought the stillness meant weakness, that your peace was passivity, that your restraint was fear. They didn't realize that while they were laughing, you were loading. Every dismissal was a lesson, every betrayal a map. You were collecting data while they were collecting comfort. And now, you know the pattern, the way they smile before they take, the way they compliment before they consume. You know their games now. You've studied the enemy in high definition. And here's the twist. You didn't become colder. You became clearer. You didn't stop caring. You just stopped carrying. You stopped rescuing people who set the fire and called it love. You stopped being their therapist, their mirror, their punching bag, their savior. You built boundaries, and that right there, that was your declaration of war. Because to people who live off chaos, boundaries feel like suffocation. They need your openness to survive. They need your empathy unguarded, your forgiveness automatic. They need you bleeding to stay warm. You changed the terms, and now their comfort is collapsing. You turned off the emotional faucet, and now they're dying of thirst in the drought they created. They'll project, of course. They'll call you toxic, dramatic, distant. They'll spin entire narratives about how you switched up. But every villain story they tell about you is really a confession of how they mistreated you when you were quiet. They just don't realize it yet. That's the beauty of boundaries. They reveal the parasite. The moment you say no, you find out who was only there for the yes. The moment you stop giving, you see who was only around to take. The moment you protect your energy, you discover who was addicted to draining it. You used to absorb everything, their anger, their fear, their shame. You took it all in, thinking it made you compassionate. But compassion without boundaries isn't virtue. It's self-erasure. You were loving people so deeply that you forgot to leave anything left for yourself. You became the silence that kept them sane. You were the restraint that made their chaos seem normal. You were the one holding the world together with trembling hands, and they called it grace. But now, you've released it. You've stopped holding what isn't yours. You've stopped being the container for other people's madness. You've realized that peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of choice. You stopped picking up the phone. You stopped explaining the same pain to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stopped shrinking just to fit inside their fragile idea of you. You stopped loving from a place of desperation and started loving from a place of discernment. And suddenly, your silence isn't golden. It's radioactive. It exposes them without a word. And they can't handle that. Because you were their emotional oxygen. You taught them to breathe in your calm, to feed on your forgiveness. And now that you're gone, they're suffocating on their own noise. That's why they say, you've changed. That's why they call you cold. But the truth? You didn't freeze. You stabilized. You stopped being available to the circus. You stopped buying the audience for people who only perform pain when they need attention. You stopped letting them pull you back into a version of yourself you've already outgrown. And that scares them, because they depended on your silence to hide their sins. They depended on your softness to avoid accountability. Your boundaries don't just protect you, they expose them. So now they call you selfish, because you stopped saving people who never wanted to swim. They call you arrogant, because you finally recognized your worth. They call you cruel, because your kindness now has conditions. And that's the paradox, isn't it? They say, love is unconditional, but boundaries are love with teeth. Without them, love turns into servitude, and you finally got tired of being worshipped for your suffering. So you flipped the script. You redefined what love looks like. It's not saying yes, it's saying enough. It's not bending, it's standing still while the storm rages and saying, not this time. And somewhere deep down, they know they deserved this version of you all along. They know they pushed too far, tested too hard, took too much. They thought your kindness was infinite. They never considered that infinity could shut its doors. Now you've become what they can't understand. Peaceful, detached, unbothered. You've gone from someone they could manipulate to someone they can't even reach. You're no longer reactive, you're radiant. Your energy is guarded, refined, untouchable. You don't chase, you attract. You don't explain, you exist. And that existence drives them insane, because they can feel the difference. They can feel the absence of access, and it eats them alive. You became the proof that their control was an illusion. You broke the leash they called love. So now let them choke. Let them call you cold. Let them tell their stories. You don't owe them an explanation. They owe you an apology they'll never give. Because the moment you enforced your boundaries, you taught them a lesson the world rarely teaches. You can't love someone who keeps you small. You're not angry anymore. you're awake. You don't need revenge. You are the consequence. And maybe that's the most terrifying part for them. You're not trying to prove a thing. You're just finally living in a world where your peace is non-negotiable and your silence isn't weakness anymore. It's authority. So walk away quietly. Let them gossip. Let them twist the truth. The same people who loved you when you were quiet will curse you when you start speaking and worship you again when your silence becomes the proof of their guilt. Because one day, they'll remember what it felt like to breathe your kindness, and they'll realize what's choking them now isn't your boundaries. It's the weight of their own entitlement. And here's the part no one prepares you for. What happens after you draw the line, after the chaos settles, after the storm quiets? You stand there, surrounded by silence that used to sound like love, and it hits you. They didn't love you. They loved their version of you. The one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't say no, the one who kept smiling through disrespect and called it understanding. Now the real you stands in front of them, unshakable, boundary built, no longer soft enough to sculpt. And they don't recognize it, because they never met this version before. You were the background music to their story. Now you're the thunder that drowns their noise. You watch them panic, don't you? Trying to decode the new rules, trying to find the cracks in your calm. They throw bait, sarcasm, guilt, nostalgia, anything to make you flinch, to make you break character. Because if you stay calm, they lose the script. And people addicted to control don't know how to function when you stop reacting. They'll say you've changed. They'll whisper that you've become cold. But deep down, they know. This is the consequence of mistaking your silence for servitude. You were never weak. You were merciful. You let them talk over you. You let them take advantage. You let them pretend you didn't notice the manipulation. You let them believe you'd never leave. And now, that mercy has run out. Now the price has come due. You've turned your pain into a perimeter, and they're standing outside it, shivering, shouting, trying to find the old door. But it's gone now, locked, sealed, reinforced with every sleepless night, every swallowed truth, every time you were told to get over it. They'll tell everyone you're different. They're right, you are. You're different because pain became precision. You're different because silence became strength. You're different because boundaries became your armor. You're no longer a story told by others. You're the author now. And every person who once fed on your guilt is now choking on your growth. Let them suffocate on the air you no longer share. Let them taste what it feels like to be denied the access they took for granted. Let them remember the warmth of you as a privilege they lost forever. Because here's the truth. You can love people and still close the door. You can forgive people and still refuse to re-enter the fire. You can wish them peace and still never let them near your own again. That's the duality they'll never understand. You're not cruel, you're clean. You don't hate them, you've outgrown them. You're not punishing them, you're protecting yourself. And that's the most terrifying thing of all, to realize the person they once controlled now controls the atmosphere. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't beg, you just exist. And your existence now carries gravity. You walk into rooms and people can feel that something's different, the kind of difference that comes from surviving yourself. You used to hold it all in so you wouldn't lose anyone. Now you hold yourself together so you don't lose you. That's the evolution. That's the rebirth. That's the revenge. They'll keep talking. They'll keep gasping. But you'll keep walking. Because once you learn that silence isn't submission, it's strategy. Once you realize boundaries aren't walls, they're wings, you stop trying to explain your peace to people addicted to your chaos. They loved you when you were quiet because your quiet kept them comfortable. Now they're choking on the sound of your power, and you don't need to save them. You just need to keep breathing. And that's the final act, isn't it? The moment you stop waiting for applause from the same crowd that only loved your silence. You realize they never admired your peace. They admired your compliance. They didn't want a person. They wanted a mirror that didn't talk back. But that mirror shattered, didn't it? And in every jagged piece you found yourself again. The real you, the one who no longer negotiates your worth just to make others feel safe. The one who doesn't shrink to fit inside small hearts. The one who understands that loving yourself will always look like betrayal to those who benefited from your self-abandonment. Let them say you've changed. You have. You burned the version of you that made everyone else comfortable. You built boundaries from the ashes and turned every too much they threw at you into finally enough. And when they choke on it, when they flail and point and call you heartless, you'll just smile. Because you know the truth. People don't drown in your boundaries. They drown in their own entitlement. So walk away without noise. Don't explain. Don't justify. You owe no closure to the same hands that broke you. You were never meant to stay small enough to be loved by cowards. You were meant to be understood by the brave. And from this point on, your silence will no longer be mistaken for weakness. It will be remembered as warning. They loved you when you were quiet. Now they're choking on your boundaries, and you're finally breathing. My men. Yeah, you. Keep breathing exactly like that. Slow, controlled, like you're pretending everything's fine. Even though you can feel the walls listening. Funny, isn't it? How loud they were, until somebody whispered the truth. Bro, they heard everything. And just like that, silence. You could taste the panic in the air. The same mouths that used to spit poison suddenly couldn't form a sentence. Because somewhere out there, the echo of their words got recorded. And it's coming back for them. That's the beauty of this game. You never know who's listening. You never know which shadow has a memory. You never know which quiet man across the room is storing your confession in perfect 4K clarity behind those calm eyes. You watched it happen, didn't you? They laughed, they mocked, they tore your name apart like scavengers at a feast. And then, when the whisper dropped, they heard everything. Their whole hierarchy collapsed. Confidence evaporated. Faces turned pale. Every fake grin cracked like porcelain under heat. Because for the first time, they realized they weren't the predators. They were the recording. See, people love to act bold when they think no one's watching. But the truth, someone's always watching. The universe keeps receipts. The energy you spit out into the dark, it circles back wearing your name tag. They thought their secrets were buried, their betrayals forgotten. But sound has a funny way of bouncing off walls and landing right back in your lap. And you? You didn't have to say a damn word. That's what drives them insane. You didn't need revenge. You just let truth play itself out like a symphony. You became the conductor of silence, while they screamed their guilt into a mic they didn't know was on. That's the real power, isn't it? Not noise, not chaos, awareness. The quiet ones rule the battlefield because they don't fire first. They record the enemy's rhythm. You waited, you listened, you let their arrogance hang itself. And now, they can't even breathe your name without hearing their own words echo back like ghosts. They're scared of you now. not because you did something, but because you know. And in this world, knowing is nuclear. Knowledge is the real gun. They just handed you the bullets by talking too loud. You walk differently now, don't you? There's something in your stride, an unspoken authority, because once you've heard what they said in the dark, you can never unhear it. You see their smiles differently now. You hear the static behind their compliments. You feel the guilt behind every, "How are you?" And the best part, you didn't need to expose them. You just exist, and they expose themselves. Their fear will do the rest. That's the delicious irony. You don't have to threaten anyone who's already haunted by what you might know. You're not revenge, you're memory incarnate. But let's be honest, part of you enjoys it, doesn't it? Watching them squirm, second-guess every word, rewrite their stories, because now they understand what it feels like to be observed, to feel the invisible pressure of an unseen eye cataloging every lie. That's what they tried to do to you. Only now the mirror's facing the other way. You learned the art of silence the hard way. While they were performing, you were recording. While they were mocking, you were memorizing. And when the time came, you didn't react. You remembered. And that's what separates you from them. They talk to survive. You observe to evolve. They think information is gossip. You treat it like ammunition. They need the crowd. You only need the truth. See, that's the paradox of power. The louder they get, the weaker they are. The quieter you become, the more control you have. They use words to hide. You use silence to hunt. And now, they're paranoid, looking over shoulders, deleting messages, whispering in rooms that still have ears. Because once paranoia sets in, silence becomes torture. Every notification feels like exposure. Every vibration feels like consequence. That's justice without a gavel, karma streamed live. You can see it in their eyes. That question, how much does he know? And the answer is always the same, enough. Enough to dismantle their illusions. Enough to make them treat you like a ghost they can't exorcise. You're not just a person anymore. You're a presence. The unseen force that reminds them there's no such thing as off the record. You've become the living consequence of their carelessness. And maybe that's what they feared all along. That the one they underestimated was the only one who never stopped listening. You didn't need cameras. You didn't need witnesses. You had memory sharper than evidence, intuition sharper than steel. That's why they hate you now. Not because of what you did, but because of what you could do if you ever decided to open your mouth. You're the archive, the file they can't delete, the walking proof that the truth always survives the lie. So when you walk into a room and it goes quiet, don't take it as rejection. Take it as confirmation. They heard everything. They know you know. And now they're rewriting history in real time, trying to look clean under a light that sees through everything. You don't need revenge. You are the consequence. You don't need to shout. The silence already belongs to you. You don't need to prove anything. You witnessed it all. And in the end, that's the ultimate fear. Not that you might strike back, but that you already did. By surviving loud enough for the truth to echo forever. You remember that moment, don't you? That shift, when the laughter in the room turned into static, when one whisper, just one, spread like wildfire through their comfortable little chaos. Bro, they heard everything. It was beautiful, wasn't it? The way their eyes widened, the oxygen vanished, the tension hit like a chokehold. Because up until that second, they were gods in their own little echo chamber, untouchable, cocky, loud. Then suddenly, they realized the microphone was never off. You could feel the silence crawl across their skin. The same mouths that screamed your name in mockery suddenly forgot how to breathe. And that's the exact moment you learn something sacred. People only fear exposure when they've been living in deceit. They didn't care when they were loud. They cared when they realized the noise had proof. That's the irony of the age we live in. Everyone's performing, but no one remembers the world has eyes everywhere. Every click, every whisper, every message leaves fingerprints. You just have to wait long enough for the truth to come crawling back home. And you waited like a surgeon. You didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't play their game. You just let the silence grow teeth. You watched the same people who mocked you start moving like they're being hunted by their own echoes. Because you understand the oldest law of power. The watcher always wins. You don't need to be the loudest. You just need to be the one collecting the data. You learn that control doesn't come from chaos. It comes from restraint. They called you quiet. They called you strange. But what they never realized is that your silence was surveillance. You saw it all. The alliances built on gossip, the fake handshakes, the laughs that died the second backs were turned. You recorded it all, not on tape, but in your mind, frame by frame, word by word. And when the truth started leaking, it wasn't by accident, it was physics. Energy always returns to its source. Now look at them. They're paranoid, checking their messages, replaying conversations, scrambling for excuses that sound believable, trying to rewrite the past while pretending the walls don't remember their tone. But the damage is already done. They know you know. And that knowledge burns more than any revenge ever could. You've become something they can't define. Not an enemy, not a friend, something worse. A living archive, a walking vault that could detonate at any moment with the weight of what it holds. They can't confront you because that would confirm everything they're afraid you know. So they pretend, smile tighter, speak softer. You watch them fumble their masks and wonder if you'll ever say something, but you won't. Will you? Because you understand something they never will. Power doesn't announce itself. Real control doesn't scream. It watches. It waits. It lets guilt rot the target from the inside until they crumble under the weight of their own fear. And oh, how they crumble. You can see it. The way they suddenly start over-explaining, apologizing for things you never accused them of, trying to test the temperature of your tone. They want to know how much you've heard. They want to know how deep the cut goes. But you just smile. Because you know the truth. Information is the new form of divinity. And you, my friend, are omniscient enough to make them bow without lifting a finger. Every word they said was a spell. Every sentence, a signature. They didn't realize they were writing confessions in air thick with consequence. And now, that same air is turning to glass around them. Transparent, fragile, inescapable. The most poetic part? You didn't even have to defend yourself. They did it for you. Every rumor they whispered came back with an address. Every lie they crafted came home to its maker. You didn't destroy them. You simply watched them self-destruct in high definition. And while they panic, you've evolved. You've ascended into something untouchable. Because when you learn to listen deeply enough, you stop being human. You become myth. You become that story that gets told in cautious tones. Careful what you say around them. They hear everything. And that, right there, is power. Not wealth, not fame, not followers, presence. The kind that distorts reality. The kind that makes people measure every word before they speak it near you. You don't demand respect. They give it out of survival instinct. That's what happens when you master silence. You stop chasing validation. You let truth do the heavy lifting. And the truth always works for the one who's patient enough to wait. Because here's the secret they never understood. When people underestimate you, they hand you information. And when they disrespect you, they reveal their patterns. You just have to sit still long enough to map their weaknesses. So when the whisper dropped, they heard everything. That wasn't the beginning of your power. That was the proof of it. You'd already won long before anyone realized the mic was on. Now everywhere you go, their eyes follow you with that unspoken fear. Does he know? And you do. You always did, so stand tall. Don't defend, don't explain, don't correct. Let the silence stay loaded. Let their paranoia do the punishment. You're the ghost in their network now, the one presence they can't mute, the one truth they can't escape. You didn't destroy them. You just let them hear themselves. And once a man hears the sound of his own betrayal in someone else's silence, he never sleeps the same again. And now, you can feel it, can't you? That eerie calm after the storm, the kind that doesn't bring peace but pressure, the kind of silence that hums like a live wire because everyone knows something's off. But no one's brave enough to say it. Everywhere you go now, you can see it in their eyes, tiny flickers of panic disguised as politeness. They don't look at you the same way anymore. They glance, then look away too quickly. Like standing near you means standing near evidence. You don't even have to speak. Your presence is an accusation, your smile, a loaded question. Because once people realize you heard everything, they stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a threat, a living archive, a breathing witness, the last place their secrets can hide. And that's the beautiful thing about truth. It doesn't have to be loud to kill. It just has to exist. Now they're trying to rewrite the past, backpedaling, rephrasing. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood. I was just joking. But you remember the tone, the timing, the venom. You remember how freely they spoke when they thought you couldn't hear. You remember how bold they were when they thought your silence meant weakness. They were dissecting your name in rooms you never entered, spinning narratives, laughing at ghosts. But what they never realized was that ghosts listen. You became the kind of silence that records, the kind of stillness that stores everything. They thought they were mocking a person. They were feeding data into a god. Now their entire energy has shifted. Suddenly you're the one with control, not because you're louder, but because you know. And knowing changes everything. It rearranges the hierarchy. The loudest one used to lead. But now the room belongs to the one who hears in high definition. You've seen it. Their voices tremble when they speak near you, like every word could detonate a memory. They're cautious now, careful, suddenly moral, suddenly spiritual, suddenly silent. Oh, the irony. They used to think you were naive. They thought silence meant ignorance. They never realized silence is just the sound you make when you're downloading everything. And when the truth surfaced, when that whisper rippled through the crowd, bro, they heard everything. That was the day the power flipped. That was the reset. Because you didn't need to expose them. You just had to exist long enough for their guilt to do the work for you. Now they're suffocating under their own echoes. You didn't curse them. They cursed themselves when they mistook your stillness for blindness. You watched them build their own coffin out of confidence. And when the final nail was hammered by that whisper, you didn't need revenge. You just had to watch the silence eat them alive. And that's what's happening right now, isn't it? They're unraveling, overthinking, paranoid. imagining cameras in every corner, replaying every word they ever said, trying to decode your expression when you walk past. Because what if you know more than they think? What if you've known everything all along? You have no idea how much power that gives you. You've become a ghost they can't bury. Every time they hear laughter that sounds like yours, their heart skips. Every time they open their mouths, they wonder if you're in the room. They edit themselves for you now. You control the frequency of their fear, and you do it without effort. That's what terrifies them most. You don't need weapons. You don't need confrontation. Your calmness is enough to collapse egos. Because when you've been underestimated long enough, silence becomes your revenge. Stillness becomes your weapon. Awareness becomes your armor. And they can't touch someone who knows the blueprint of their corruption. They'll try to discredit you, of course. Paint you as cold, distant, dangerous. Because what they can't control, they must label. But the truth? You've outgrown their vocabulary. You've become something they don't have words for. You're not the villain. You're the mirror. And mirrors terrify the guilty. Every time you walk into a room, their souls flinch. They can't look at you too long, because when they do, they see themselves, all their lies reflected in your silence. You're not fighting them anymore. You're haunting them. That's the evolution they never saw coming. You didn't rise by fighting. You rose by listening. You didn't win by arguing. You won by remembering. You didn't conquer by shouting. You conquered by staying still, because that's the paradox of real power. You can't be exposed if you've already exposed yourself. You can't be destroyed by lies if you've already seen the truth naked. And now, here you stand, unshaken, unreadable, untouchable. The one everyone warned them about too late. The one they mocked until the walls whispered your name back to them like prophecy. You don't even need to celebrate. The silence is doing that for you. Every unfinished sentence, every nervous glance, every sudden apology, that's victory. That's confession. That's the sound of the world realizing the quiet one was always the most dangerous. So don't break your silence now. Let it hang heavy. Let it suffocate the falsehoods, because they already know the truth, even if they'll never admit it out loud. You don't need to shout it from rooftops. They heard everything, and now they'll never stop hearing it. And that's the final twist, isn't it? The moment you realize you don't even need justice, because the truth already did your work for you. Their own voices became the weapon, their own arrogance the executioner. You didn't lift a finger, and yet entire reputations fell apart in whispers. You just stood there, calm, composed, untouchable, while their fear did the screaming. They'll spend the rest of their lives trying to fix what you never broke, trying to outrun echoes that follow them into every room, every dream. That's what happens when guilt has no exit. It loops over and over until sanity starts to stutter. They'll call it paranoia, but you'll know the truth. It's not paranoia when the ghosts are real. And you don't chase ghosts anymore. You let them haunt themselves. You walk like a storm that's already passed but left the sky permanently changed. They can't touch you because you've become something they can't define. Too quiet to accuse, too dangerous to ignore. That's the power of the listener, the observer, the one who doesn't blink when the world burns. You learn that revenge isn't about fire. It's about presence, the kind that makes everyone around you question what they said, what they did, what they think you know. So let them whisper, let them scramble, let them try to stitch together new masks while their old ones crumble. Because they'll never know which part you heard. or how much of it you've stored in that terrifying silence. You don't need to expose them anymore. You are the exposure. You're the unspoken consequence walking among them, smiling politely while they slowly choke on their own echoes. Because now they know the one truth they can never unlearn. The walls have ears. The quiet remember everything. And somewhere out there, you're still listening.